Mr. Van Bramer, you are claiming victory here, running a sort of victory lap, but is this really a win?
Well, no one's running a victory lap, but what I would say is this is a victory because we fought for our values. We challenged this deal from the beginning because Amazon has a track record of not treating its workers right and is being horribly anti-union. We exposed them during this process over the last few months where they declared once and for all that they would fight any attempts of any employees of Amazon directly to organize. That's antithetical to my values as a progressive New York City Democrat. I think it's antithetical to most of us in New York City, and they refused to budge. At the end of the day, Amazon chose to leave. No one killed Amazon. Amazon walked off the field because they refused to change their ways, and they simply didn't want, I think, to risk having to allow their employees to organize, which is outrageous.
Now, Brad, Amazon has turned some of its supporters into enemies as well. This coming from Mayor Bill de Blasio, who said, "We gave Amazon the opportunity to be a good neighbor and do business in the greatest city in the world. Instead of working with the community, Amazon threw away that opportunity." If Amazon can't recognize what that's worth, its competitors will.
Well, I think Mayor de Blasio is doing some damage control here. He was a proponent of the deal that is now blown up in his face. But look, this is a catastrophic outcome of this year-and-a-half process for everyone involved. You know, Amazon was looking for a partner, which it felt that it didn't quite have anymore in Seattle. It conducted this very public search. It did make mistakes in New York City. I think it should have trotted out Jeff Bezos more publicly to support this deal. I think maybe putting him in a room with politicians and officials like the councilman might have helped. But I also think on the other side, and I would like to ask the councilman, you know, you're never going to change Amazon's stripes. It has historically been, you know, anti-union when it comes to its fulfillment centers. These are white-collar jobs in particular in Queens. It's going to sell, it has said, technology like facial recognition to the federal government and departments like ICE. So what is losing these 25,000 jobs? How does that help your constituents at all, many of whom supported the deal?
Well, look, I think it helps our city in the long run. It also helps the nation, quite frankly, because if we had not fought this fight in New York City, then we would have had other corporations also saying, look, you let Amazon not only come to New York City, but get $3 billion in taxpayer money, declaring themselves to be so anti-union that they would not allow members of their workforce to organize. If we allow them to do that, then everyone else coming after them will say, we're doing the same thing. And I feel like at the end of the day, this is a fight that needed to be fought. And also with respect to their use and support of ICE's work against immigrants in this country, Queens is the most diverse county in the country. We have so many immigrants, both documented and undocumented. How could we as elected officials who represent both a lot of union workers and a lot of immigrants allow Amazon to dictate the terms of this deal, dictate the terms of their arrival? The truth is, Amazon could have fought. They could have actually proposed new ways to do it. And I agree with you, Amazon didn't really fight very hard here. We never saw or heard from Jeff Bezos once. And there was almost no discussion from the time that this deal was announced in early November to today. And I was surprised at the announcement today. Since that time, there's been almost zero work on behalf of Amazon, the governor and the mayor's office, to actually try and solve the problems. Even organized labor said to Amazon that if you agree to be neutral, we might be able to go along with this.
Congressman, let's talk about what the people wanted, though, or what it appears they wanted. Amazon says 70% of New Yorkers were in favor. We looked at an independent poll that found 57% of New Yorkers in favor. Now, when you ask them the next question, well, are you in favor of $3 billion in incentives? New Yorkers are more split, 46% support, 44% oppose. But could you also have done anything differently to keep Amazon at the table?
Well, look, again, this is their decision to take their marbles and go home. I met with Amazon took some criticism from some folks. And I believe that they, at the end of the day, were unwilling to move on anything. I believe it's part of their core values, their corporate values, to crush unions and any ability of their workers to organize, and they didn't want to change. And that's on them. I also think that there was almost no effort to respond to the criticism initially. The rollout was totally mishandled. Doing this in secret, bypassing community review, they were almost destined to fail. But even worse was how they've handled the last 3 months. Their appearances before the city council were dreadfully bad, and they were simply unable and nimble to move and maneuver through what they were going through.
Brad, how much damage has Amazon done to itself here?
No, I think it will recover easily long term, and those jobs will go to Northern Virginia and Nashville and all the other places where Amazon has offices. You know, they're not going to change their anti-union stance. They're not going to change, where they sell their technology. And I think New York and Queens in particular loses out. I mean, look, could Amazon have done this differently? I think they were unprepared for selecting a location that ultimately had this level of opposition, and they didn't have the tools at their disposal to counter the groundswell of action that came from AOC and her allies. They could have done things differently, but I also think New York, unfortunately, is kind of sacrificing the longer-term economic benefits that Amazon would have brought to the city.
Now, Mr. Van Bramer, and I apologize, we referred to you as a congressman, but you're a city council member.
I appreciate the promotion.
Are you at all concerned about political consequences for you?
Well, look, I understand that there are people who are angry today because of what happened. And look, there are consequences when we take stands. But I'm willing to stand up for what I believe in. I'm willing to fight even the most powerful man in the world because of where I come from and what I believe. And so if there are people who will not support me going forward because I chose to defend working men and women, because I chose to defend immigrants, undocumented and documented, because I chose to defend the city council's meaningful role in land use review, then so be it. I know why I took on this fight, and I'm proud of it.